Now that we talked about the quarterbacks, we gotta go to who they report to. Um, and that's the head coaches. So just give me two guys. It was quite a few of these, but give me two and your thoughts on each one. But I need to know which head coaches are on the hot seat this year. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first on this one.
Kind of for the same reasons that I said Dak, I would say Mike McCarthy. We know
Mhm.
Jerry Jones has
He's still
always
there.
kind of had, he's not going to be much more patient. I mean, people have talked about McCarthy being out of there almost every
Mhm.
year. And I just feel like right now it is the time. Like he's got to get it done, or I don't really think he'll be back next year. So I think McCarthy, even though he's had a reasonable amount of success, he hasn't been able to get them over the hump. And I think Jerry Jones knows his window is closing as well. So I think
Right.
he wants to win another Super Bowl before he's no longer, with us or no longer running the Cowboys organization in the way that he is. So I think
That was a nice way of
he
saying
wants to
it.
get it done. He wants to get it done,
Right.
Britt. So I think McCarthy
He's a
for
true fan now.
sure is on that list. Um,
Mhm.
a second one didn't really jump out at me too much, Britt. I'm gonna say your Eagles, Britt, only
Mhm.
because of the dysfunction that we saw last year and the
Mhm.
way that they just sort of collapsed. And I think
Mhm.
if they have another season where there just seems to be dysfunction, where it just seems like they're not on the same page, it seems like the players in the locker room aren't necessarily vibing with the head coach. I think maybe at the end of the year that could be an issue as well. So I'll throw the Eagles in there as my second team.
Just like a Cowboy fan, can't leave the Eagles out of your conversation. You got to join us in. But no, I'm gonna be honest with you, Jay. I agree with you that he was at the top of my list. Nick Sirianni, especially being that last year, and he said it 1,001 times, whether people wanted to believe it or not, that was his offense. Nick Sirianni, your offense is terrible. And granted, the coordinator can't get out of it because you are the play caller, so that just means situational. What plays are you calling? And he just didn't make the best decisions. But there was no creativeness to the offense, nothing, no motion, nothing to help figure out the blitz. And I kept saying, and I keep telling you guys, as you guys know, to me that's elementary school level. You should be able to protect your quarterback against a blitz, or have some hot routes, or utilize the running back more, whatever it may be. So he was absolutely at the top of my list. But now they have Kellen Moore, and apparently Kellen Moore has complete autonomy or complete control of the offense. And Nick Sirianni is basically a CEO of the team, whatever the heck that means. And
Right.
then my second one is I'm gonna go with Robert Salah. Salah.
Mm,
That's his
Salah,
name,
okay.
Robert
Salah.
Salah. Robert Salah. I just feel like he's been there for a while and they just haven't gotten over the hump. And I understand the situation that happened last year with Aaron Rodgers, but even after Aaron Rodgers, look at the decisions that they had to make at the quarterback position, where you clearly had a quarterback that just, to me, is just not right for the Jets program or the Jets team that he has started, and he absolutely should have went in a different direction. I just feel like his decision making as a head coach just isn't right for this team. Now, I don't know if that means he'll go elsewhere and do well. Maybe I just feel like he could be potentially like one of those guys who may be more of a defensive coordinator versus a head coach to control an entire team. If they don't get it done, I really think he's on the outs, because I think this will be really his last chance, and he just hasn't gotten it done for me. But K Rock, what are your two head coaches that's on the hot seat?
Yeah, Brett, you stole my two. I don't want to say stole my two, but I agree with you there without question. Sirianni, I was going to go Salah and then Sirianni in that order, but I'll start with Sirianni
Mhm.
because of the fact of the matter is everything that Jay mentioned. Because what transpired last season, with that they started 10-1, and then everything just went downhill from there. And I know they changed the offensive coordinators, changed the
Right.
defensive coordinator, and brought in two quality guys, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio as well. So right now, if it doesn't happen for those guys, if they miss the playoffs, or if they are out at first round or a wild card spot, then Sirianni has to go because he's the common denominator. Because
Right.
they boosted that for the most part. They didn't really have to do too much, but bringing in a Saquon Barkley definitely makes you a lot better,
Yeah.
without question, especially with a Jalen Hurts there as well. And obviously you solidify Smith and AJ Brown, we know, with those contracts, and they brought in other guys as well. But yeah, I think that he may be number one, if not one A, one B.
Mhm.
But I do agree with you, Robert Saleh. Not because I'm a Saleh guy. You guys know his days in
Yeah.
San Francisco. I thought he's an excellent head. I think he's an excellent head coach. I just think we're just talking about the Jets. I mean, like any coach, the Jets are going to jet. And that's just what it is. I mean, look, they won this, what, back in 69 or whenever it was. I forget the actual year with Joe Namath.
Before
Since
we were
then,
all born.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. And since then, they've just been the same old Jets. I mean, they
Right.
have some quality years here and there, but at the end of the day, they're still going to be who they are. And I think Robert Saleh, last year you mentioned, Britt, that losing
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers to that injury on a fourth down play, nonetheless. And then you have a guy that a lot of people don't have confidence, including myself, and that's Nathaniel Hackett. He was a
Yeah.
package deal with the offensive coordinator there. If you bring
Mhm.
in if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you got to bring in Nathaniel Hackett. And then when Hackett doesn't have, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, what does his offense look like? We've
Yeah.
seen it.
Right.
So that's got to, you got to somehow get him out of there. But I know that comes with Aaron Rodgers as well. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, he's in New York. He's in the media capital of the world, and they're calling for his head. So, like you mentioned, Britt, hot seat. I don't think his seat is that cool, to be honest with you. I think it's a lot hotter than that, to be honest with you. So he's got to go out there. He's got to win it. He's got to win a division. He's got to win. He's got to get to the AFC Championship in order for his job to be safe. That's the expectations that they have here.
Two questions pertaining to Robert. What's his
Salah,
last name?
Salah,
Salah. Thank you
Salah.
to Robert Salah. For those who are watching, I'm not great with names. I will do my best to pronounce it, but they could pronounce names better than I can. I need to. I know I need to be better.
You good?
But with Robert Salah, um, how does this going to work? Him already being on a hot seat, and then as we just heard, that Hassan Reddick is currently he's not reported to training camp. He's holding
Hmm.
out. You think this will hurt him, or you don't? Do you think the owner will give him some sort of grace with this particular situation? Anybody can answer it.
Go ahead, Jeff. Okay.
I don't know that it hurts him because I think in the NFL a lot of this is par for the course. I mean, you see it
Right.
throughout organizations with different players. Every year there's always somebody that holds out. But at the end of the day, Britt, like winning cures everything. Like if he can figure
Mhm.
out a way to win, none of it'll be a problem. And if he doesn't win, then everything is going to be a reason, right? So I think
Right.
that's at the end of the day, that's really what it's going to be about. Can he figure out a way to win? And if he does, he'll be fine. And if he can't, they'll think of any and everything to blame him for. So
Hmm.
I think that's
Right.
just really the way it's going to shake down.
Right. That
Yeah.
does make sense. Okay. What? You got any thoughts
Yeah,
on this?
I don't think it's going to hurt him. I think they'll get it
Mhm.
done, and I think Robert Sala. Robert Sala is definitely going to. He doesn't have anything to do with it, as far as the
Hmm.
negotiation process of it. But
Right.
I think Hassan Reddick, and I think they knew when they pulled the trigger on that trade, that Hassan Reddick and his camp was saying, "Listen, we're looking for an extension. We're looking for a long-term extension." And like we mentioned prior to the show, is that's that comes with the territory. That if we're going to make this
Right.
trade, if we're gonna agree to this trade or what have you, I'm just letting you know now that I'm looking for a long term extension. Are you willing to do that? And they say yes, and then
Hmm.
they pull the trigger on on that. If not, then I think he's what, in his third year, fourth year. What is he's still in his rookie deal? I know that much, right, Britt? I know he was
Who?
with the Eagles. So
Robert. I'm sorry,
no,
Hassan
no,
Reddick.
no, Reddick. Yeah, Reddick.
Reddick.
I think he's
No, he
still
got
on
an
his rookie deal.
extension. He got an
Y'all
extension
give him
with
an
us.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. I
I think he
missed
only
that.
got
Okay.
one extent. Wait, did he get an extension with us?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if he's
Yeah,
still on
yeah,
his
he
rookie
got a
deal.
similar deal that we gave to Bryce Huff when he first
Oh,
came
okay.
in. We gave him that deal. So he will be going on to his third deal.
Wow, he's been in the league that long. Good
Yeah, he's
gracious.
29
he's
years old. So
Good
about 29,
gracious.
yeah,
30. Yeah,
yeah. So
Wow,
he's
where have I been? Good gracious.
right.
Okay.
Because
All
I
right.
think
So
we
yeah.
were
So
his.
yeah. I'm sorry. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, go ahead.
No, no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think we were his third team, I believe, and the Jets would be his fourth, I believe.
I thought y'all drafted
Or
him.
no. He was with Arizona. Remember, he was with Arizona first, I believe. He was at Arizona,
yeah.
and then they
Cardinals
let him
drafted him
go.
in
Wow.
2017. Then the
Right.
Panthers. Then
Then
the
the
Eagles.
Panthers, and
Yeah.
then the
Son, red
Eagles.
God, dog, where have I been? Okay, so that changes a lot of my thinking now. Okay, so with that being said, 25 to 30 million, and wow. Yeah, so to answer the question, Brick, believe it or not, I do recall the question. Yeah, I don't think it hurts him, to be honest with the meeting Robert Sala. I think you obviously want to get him in there. You traded for him for, for obvious reasons, because he's a difference maker to add alongside Q Williams. So I think that you want to get him in there as quickly as possible. So I don't know if he's going to get that much. Wow, I did not know he was in the league that long. Well, good gracious, at least not with those teams. So with that being said, yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt him too bad, but you definitely want him in there for sure, Britt.
Yeah, I don't know if, and that was the battle with him and the Eagles. The Eagles are like, look, you're getting a little older. There's certain things that we may want you to do in this particular defense that you may not be capable of doing, or you're not that you're not capable of doing. You just not. It's not your strength. To me, he's a pure
Mm-hmm.
pass rusher. Line him up on one side, he's going to rush the passer. But Vic Fangio, he likes to, drop his pass rushers in coverage at
Yeah.
times. That's not a strength of Hassan Reddick's, or you know, uh, 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 playing well in the rushing attack. That's also not his strength as well. So he is a pure pass rusher. He does incredible at that. He's incredible because I think he's one of a few players to get double digit sacks with 3 different teams. But I think because of his other limits is the reason why teams were willing to move on from him or not willing to pay what
Gotcha.
he wants to get paid. I think that's one of the bigger reasons. You gonna say
Wow.
anything, Jay?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. And then my other question was regarding Nick Sirianni, because I think we all had him on the hot seat, right? We're all in agreement with that. But let's look at it. He's been the head coach for about 3 years now. This will be going to his 4th year. 2 of the 3 years made it to the first round of playoffs. He did lose his 2nd year. Something amazing just happened. His second
Sorry about that.
year. No, you're fine. 2nd year, he went to the Super Bowl, although he did lose. Should we give grace to him, although it's a complete collapse during the last 6 game of the season? Should we say, you know what, this may be something that odds are it might not occur again? We're not sure yet. We won't really know until this particular year. They have better, like K-Walk said, better coordinators in place with way more experience, with way more success than last year's coordinators. Should we get grace because of his resume to Nick Sirianni, or should it be like if he don't perform this year, he should be out? Anybody can take it because it's not on our list.
Britt, I don't really think grace, or at least for me, I'm not into the giving him grace, because for me it's not just about like what he's done on the field. For me, it's about just his demeanor, and he just he doesn't carry himself like a head coach to me. Like he's a little bit of a hothead. He comes off to me a little bit like a frat boy. And I just some of his antics to me just don't scream NFL head coach, leader of men. This guy's gonna have my ear. Like, so I question those things. Like, he might win a bunch of games because he's got a really good team, and he's got, like K Walk pointed out, veteran, well-respected offensive and defensive coordinators. Right. But at some point, like, this has to be a guy that you want to follow. This has to be a guy that you're really willing to run through a wall for, right? And I don't get that vibe from him. So for me, those are the things that kind of make me say, I don't know about this guy. So I think he's got to prove those things this year if he wants to stick around.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm sorry, Britt. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Just your team.
I was going to say, I think for me, I don't think the players necessarily have a problem with Nick Sirianni. I think they respect them from the standpoint of, Nick Sirianni has their back. Whenever a player is getting called out, Nick Sirianni is the first one to take ownership of it, or make sure he has their back. So I don't really mind some of the antics. I'm like, just have fun. Everybody wants to have fun on the job. I don't really care about that. What it comes down to me is how the team performs on the field. If I don't see it, fine. If you want to have the antics, fine, but you better be winning in the process, right? The antics while losing, that's why I have the problem with that. And granted, everybody deserves an opportunity to mature as well. Andy Reid went through the same exact thing with the Philadelphia Eagles when he was our head coach. When his first couple years, you just used to see him screaming back and forth with players, with the crowd, whatever it might be. He was a little bit of a hothead as well. And then look what he ended up developing into. I need to see the success and the wins on the field. If that's not matching, if I don't see creativity in your offense, if I don't see certain things when it comes down to the play or certain hirings and things like that, then I'm like, you need to go. The other stuff I don't really care about personally. And that's what I'm saying about. So for me, because of the collapse that happened last year, and because I know Shane Steichen was the coordinator for the 2 years, his first year and the second year we went to the Super Bowl. To me, I think he should get responsibility for the reason why that team went to the Super Bowl, and that's my concern. I just don't think he's a good head coach when it comes to creating an offense and play calling. But K-Walk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you guys there, or with Jay as well. I mean, when Jay mentioned like there's no grace there because of the fact of the matter is, you've seen what happened. I mean, you changed the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators, as we all alluded to. Now, if the same thing happens, you got to point your finger at what's the common denominator there, and it's the head coach. Right. It's the age-old saying, and fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to put themselves in that situation by any stretch of the imaginations. And then, as we mentioned, they are a talented team, one of the best teams in there, a Super Bowl contender. They have all the pieces in the right place right now. And if it happens to be a collapse, or if there's just not any connection there, I know Jalen Hurts has come out and said, I read one report that he's got to be more on a page with Sirianni there. So it seemed like there was a disconnect there between him and the head coach and the quarterback. And that's a bad disconnect to have in any organization. I don't care what any sport that you're in. If the head coach and your starting quarterback, your franchise quarterback that has a disconnect, that's a problem. So they got to correct that. And if they don't, then there's absolutely zero grace. And if I'm not going to say it, I'm not wishing upon this, but if they are like at 500 around 8 games, 7 games, 9 games, 10 games or whatever, do they pull the trigger there because they don't, and they're still in contention? Do they pull the trigger because of what happened last season?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, guys, I don't think it's going to happen again. But you just
I don't think it
either.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think sports is sports, and you just never know what can happen. So we got a couple comments because they a couple people just wanted to chime in on this, and this is interesting to me. And K-Walk, I'm gonna ask you to respond to this one. We got McCarthy and Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan? Why Kyle Shanahan? McCarthy, yeah, because we've seen his number, but Kyle Shanahan, you know what? It's hard to say Kyle Shanahan because he's been there like Jay alluded to, he's been a couple Super Bowls away. Because who are we going to go out there and get and become an immediate Super Bowl contending or Super Bowl winning head coach? Right. Just give me one. Give me one. You gonna go out there and get Andy Reid? You ain't gonna get Andy Reid to replace him. So who you gonna get? I mean, second best is better than third, fourth best. I know it's not the best because of but everything is going on. But I'm telling you right now, Shanahan is a long-term guy. He's going to be there for as long as he wants to be. Believe it or not. I mean, again, some of these. When I hear stuff like that, Kyle Shanahan, he gets there, but he doesn't win it. But he's getting there, and like Jay alluded to, one play away. You have him on the ropes, but you can't finish that, and that's what this comes down to as far as Kyle Shanahan. Like McCarthy, you know what? That's and Jay. We talked about it's America's team. Just like Dak's under that pressure, Kyle and McCarthy's going to be under that pressure too, right? Because it's America's team, and they're under the pressure to win each and every season. But Kyle Shanahan, you guys miss me with that. I get it, but who you like? Which tree you going to shake that? You can just get a Super Bowl head coach out of there. I don't understand how that works. But
Jay, you got any thoughts on
That's my
No,
You got
I,
any
I,
thoughts on
I
Kyle
agree with
Shanahan?
I agree with K Walk. I like to me like sometimes like Kyle Shanahan is a fantastic coach. Like
Mhm.
you can watch and even if they didn't win, you can watch the way that he coaches, the way that he calls plays,
Right.
the way that he does things. Like he is a good coach. And like K Walk said, if you're going to get rid of him, like who's coming through that door would be my question. I think it'd be really hard to upgrade from him right now. So I don't think he's on him and John Lynch. I mean, they're connected at the hip. So if
facts.
you get rid of Shanahan, well, that means
Makes
Lynch is
sense.
going to have to go too.
There,
And I just don't see that happening.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening as well. It would have to be something drastic, like the team goes 4-12 for maybe a year or two, or like it would really have to be something drastic. Or maybe
That wouldn't sound right.
Kyle
That wouldn't
Shanahan,
sound.
like K Walk alluded to, says, you know what, I've been here long enough. I think it's time for
Yeah.
me to break ties with you guys and just try something different. Or maybe the organization will eventually say that. But right now, I think it's
Nah.
way too early. He's just been winning every year.
Jed
So,
York.
or at
Jed
least put
York's not that though.
right, or at least putting his team in position to win every single year. So it's a little tough. Look, if
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin can stay with the Steelers every year,
Yeah.
then and
Bring his
they
name in
haven't
there. Bring his name in there. If you're gonna bring Kyle Shanahan in
right.
there,
Then
bring Mike Tomlin name in there too.
I think Kyle Shanahan can stay as well.